topic that we're going to cover today is dealing with embracing your isolation season. Some of the most common misconceptions of isolation during the season from people is it's painful to be alone. I need people to be around me to have a good time. It gets lonely being alone. I'm going to miss out on everything. All of these conceptions are true to feel. Your feelings are definitely validated. I've gone through the same situation. I've gone through this season before, so I know exactly how you feel. I felt the exact same way. You feel like when you get out of this season, everybody has just moved past you. The world has just moved past you. Everybody has elevated where you feel like you're just stuck in the same place. I totally get it. I've been through the same thing myself. But the main thing that I want you to get about this season of isolation, whether that's if you've already been through it or if you're going through it currently, is this is the time that the work that God is doing on the inside of you in order to manifest the potential of the greatness in you is most of the time this process that he's doing where he's manifesting this potential out of you, it has to happen in your isolation season. He has to get you by himself. He has to isolate you one-on-one. It's imperative. He can't do this work if you're in the midst of people, if you're in the midst of your family, if you're in the midst of your friends. He has to get you by himself so he can have the time that he needs to develop you on the inside. So when he's done and he's done the work, now it's time for you to go back out into the open, and everything that he's done on the inside of you, all the work that you've put in is going to show for itself. But in this time, it's essential that you do not fight this process that he has you in. There's a reason why you're going through this. He doesn't just have you in this painful season for no reason. And it's not going to be painful the whole time. It might feel pain. I'm not going to lie. It's going to feel painful the whole time. But once you're out of it and you realize why you had to be in it, the preparation that's going to come out of this, it's going to make a whole lot of sense down the road why you had to go through it. I promise you. During the season, I need you to remember that this season is designed to destroy your dependency on people and build your trust toward God. So if you're like me, before you even went through this isolation season, you were probably like me, you were dependent on people always being around. You thought everybody was going to be in your life forever, whether that was family, whether that was friends, whether that was people you were in relationships with, whether that was people you were in business partnerships with, business relationships with, whatever the case is. This season is designed to show you that you can get through this life if you just trust in God. You don't need a crowd of people. You don't need everybody behind you in order to get things done. All you need is him. That is why he has you in this season, so that you can take your dependency off people and put your dependency on him. Because you're going to get a whole lot more things done if you have the creator of the universe, the creator of this world behind you. You guys are on one accord. You guys are constantly on the same page. If you guys can trust one another, that relationship that you're going to build with God in this isolation season is going to be critical. It's going to be very important to how far you can go down the road. This season is also designed to build your patience and character for future adversities and challenges. So like I said, you might feel all the pain in this season, and you might be wondering, well, why am I going through this? Why am I going through that? Why does this person not have to go through this? Why does this person not have to go through that? I promise you, when it's all said and done, there's going to come a situation, a conflict, an obstacle down the road that you're going to have to look back on this season right here, and you're going to be able to say to yourself, okay, now I see why I had to go through this, because now I have nobody around. But yet, I'm in control of my emotions, I'm in control of my feelings, and I know I'm going to be able to overcome this because I took the preparation that I needed to take. I took the time in order to build a relationship with God. I took the time to build my patience and character to withstand this test, to withstand this trial, to withstand this persecution. It took for me to be in a season of isolation in order to prepare me for this challenge that I'm going through right now. So you may not see it right now. You may not feel it right now. But this season that you're going through, it has a purpose. It has a design. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I need you to understand that, especially while you're in this season of isolation. And one thing I want to point out, one thing that you have to also remember during this season of isolation is that if you do not embrace this season of isolation, then you will not get to witness a full experience of your elevation and transformation. You cannot get to the next level of your destiny. You cannot get to the next level of your transformation. You cannot get to the next level of your success, especially in the spiritual realm, if you do not go through a season of isolation. If you do not go through a time period where you're able to sit with God alone for a time period so he can develop you. You have to have that time. Everybody has to have that season or time in their life where God has to sit them down. No matter whether it's by design or accident, by something man-made or by something that God designed himself, there has to come a time in your life where you have to have a one-on-one specific period of time set aside with God so that he can develop you, so that he can lead you, so he can direct you to the next step. Like I said, I've had my experience with this season of isolation in my life as well. It happened in the summer going into my junior year of high school. During my freshman and sophomore year didn't go so good academically. So I don't know if y'all can relate, but the household that I grew up in, if we didn't do things correctly or if we struggled in school, whatever the case was, where we were in trouble, we either got whoopings, we got something taken, or we got privileges stripped. So 2 of the 3 have already happened. You can guess which ones. So the next one on the list for me was to get, I guess you could say, privilege and something taken. So going into the summer of my junior year, the service to my phone was cut off. So I was only able to contact basically my family for emergency purposes, and I really didn't have the ability to go out or hang out with my friends that whole summer. So I was basically stuck in the house. And also we were coming off a situation where our house had caught on fire the previous year, and we were living in an apartment temporarily until they fixed the place up. So for those 3 months over that summer, I was basically just in the house all day, every day, unless we went to church or out to eat or to the laundromat. But other than that, I was stuck in there all day, every day. And I can tell you firsthand, it was the most frustrating, depressing, lonely 3 months I have ever felt in my life. Like, it literally broke me down mentally, emotionally, in every way, shape, or form. But that was the moment that was the opportunity that God needed in order to develop me. So he took it and he ran with it. So that day, that summer, I focused on building my relationship and connection with God. It forced me, basically, because I really didn't have anything else to do. I just started praying consistently. And then over time, my intent changed on praying. Over time, genuinely wanted to build a connection with God. I wanted to hear him. I wanted to see how he was. I wanted to develop a deeper understanding, a deeper connection. So I started praying every day. I started reading more and more, gaining that connection, gaining that relationship. And over time, we just started being on one accord, and I went to him for everything. I started drawing up financial plans. I started drawing up everything that I wanted to do for my life, and I started praying to him about it every day. And and the mentality that I had was, as soon as an opportunity opens up, I'm going to run with it, and I'm not going to look back. So the picture that I had in my mind was a slingshot with a rock being held back, just being held back, just waiting to be released. And when it releases, I'm just gonna go full force, and I'm not gonna stop until I have everything that I have desired for my life. And that comes also with everything that God has for my life as well. We was gonna be an unstoppable force once we had the opportunity. And God was definitely the main reason why I was able to stay mentally and emotionally sane that whole summer. I don't know how I got through it. It was only about the grace of God that I just didn't go crazy being stuck in the house. So as the next school year was approaching, the conclusion of my isolation season was approaching as well, and I had no idea. So when the next school year started and I seen all my friends again, I got the sense, or I got the feeling of everybody had just passed me by. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I got this sense that everybody had just elevated. Everybody was getting cars, everybody was getting their license, everybody was getting jobs, and here I was just coming out of my isolation season, I guess. My main focus now was school, getting my grades back up, and I just felt like everybody was just on a different level than me. And then I realized over the course of that school year, as the days started going by, I started to see the gap in myself and everybody else. I couldn't see it naturally because I didn't have the natural possessions that everybody had. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a license. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I was just basically, technically, just starting my life over again because of this house fire. So, like I said, as the year moved along, I started to see the strength. I started to see the growth and maturity in me because of all that preparation that God had me to go through in my isolation season. Yeah, it felt bad in that summer, but when I got out of it, I started to see the reason why I had to go through it in the first place. Now the adversity I was going through in the middle of that school year, during the end, when you get that school fatigue, I was able to move past that because I had built up enough preparation, enough strength, enough patience in that summer in order that helped carry me along the rest of that school year. They gave me the energy that I needed. They gave me the strength that I needed. They gave me the patience that I needed. They gave me the durability that I needed. And if I had not gone through that, who knows how my life would have ended up, And then the next thing that I noticed was during the course of that school year was I was fine whether I was alone or in the midst of a group of friends, whether I was in the midst of a crowd. No matter what I was going through from that moment on, from that school year on, and then I wasn't concerned about who was there and who wasn't, who was paying attention or who wasn't. I was just concerned about getting to the next level of my life. That was it. And I learned to be content with where I was at. I wasn't rushing the process. I wasn't speeding it up. I knew exactly where I was at. I knew the work that I had put in that summer, the mental, the emotional work. So I knew where I was at. All I was waiting on was the opportunity. And I knew as soon as it came, it was wraps. So I had to learn to stay patient in the midst of that summer. I had to learn to stay diligent. I learned integrity during that summer. I learned understanding. I learned exactly what I needed to do in order to continue to elevate in my life as soon as the opportunity arose. So now you see why the season of isolation is important. You learn many things during your season of isolation, but don't just focus on the present pain that you're in during that season of isolation. Know that there's a reason why you're going through that. And once you get on the other side of that, I promise you it's going to be so much sweeter. You're going to notice a difference in yourself. So the season of isolation is very beneficial. I can honestly say I am still thanking God to this day for that season of isolation. The stuff that I just had to encounter over the course of these last couple of years, I can honestly say if it wasn't for that season of isolation, I wouldn't have been able to get through what I've had to go through these last couple of years. If it wasn't for that season of isolation, I wouldn't have developed the character and patience that I would have needed to take care of my mom with mental health issues. If I didn't go through that season of isolation, I wouldn't have had the character to deal with that and deal with a full-time school schedule and deal with a full-time management job at work. I wouldn't have been able to maintain all those at the same time. It took work in that summer for me to be able to handle the things that I'm dealing with right now, to handle the responsibility of what comes with wanting the things that I'm after, with wanting to chase after what God has for you. There's things that comes with it, but you have to go through the steps of preparation. You have to go through the proper process. You have to be willing to go through it alone if you have to. If it comes to that, you have to be willing to take the steps. And the season of isolation is one of those steps. It's not going to feel good, but it is necessary. So I thank God for allowing me to get through that season of isolation. And if one was to come again, I would be ready for it because I know exactly what I'm going to get out of it. And I hope I'm able to get something out of it that I didn't get from the last one. And I hope there's many more seasons of isolation to come. Because I know as long as there's a season of isolation to come, there's also going to be a season of elevation. There's also going to be a season of transformation. So I know if there's going to be a season of isolation to come, that means that there's another level that I can get to. And that excites me more than anything, in the spiritual and in the natural realm. And then that helps me create more content to help the next person. That helps me put somebody else in a position to succeed. That helps me put somebody else in another position to help somebody else put them in to help them put somebody in a position to succeed. So it's good all around. It's a win-win situation. The only time you lose is if you give up or if you quit. But if you keep going, if you keep trying to maintain, then this season of isolation will be beneficial to you more than you can ever understand. And I promise you, even in this season of isolation, whether you feel alone or not, God is still right there no matter what. And during that season of isolation, once I remembered that, I kept that in the back of my mind, that it made it a little bit easier. It was still hard, but it made it easier to get through. So I can honestly say without this season of isolation, I would not have gotten to the place that I'm at today. And without that season of isolation, I would not have the durability, the motivation, the inspiration, the patience, the character to continue to go after what I'm going after right now, to continue to try to ascend to levels that I'm aiming for right now, if it was not for that season of isolation back then. So God, I want to thank you. I give you the credit, the glory, the honor, the recognition, the praise, worship, acknowledgement for helping me get through that. Because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. I want to be where I'm at today, natural or spiritually. So I pray that this content was helpful for somebody. And if you're going through this season of isolation right now, I congratulate you, because you have no idea of the level that you're about to elevate to if you just get through this season. So hope you guys enjoyed this content. And as always, if y'all need anything, let me know. If you can. If you have the time or availability to do so, please drop a like on this video. Continue to subscribe if you know somebody in your circle that has not experienced this channel or this platform yet. We're going to continue to do amazing things on this channel. A lot more changes to come in the near future. So just stay tuned and be on the lookout for the next available video when it drops. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. I love you guys so much. Spiritual Prodigy out.